Hello, my name is Jean and I am a knitter. I'm also a dog owner, I'm a wife, I'm all kinds of things. I also travel occasionally. I was out of the country for a bit. But I am back. And I have to say that out of all the different tools I took with me on my travels, the one that I needed the most was the crochet hook that I use to recover dropped stitches. Some days you should not knit. I had a few of those, but you have to learn that that is a day that you should not be knitting, and you usually learn it the hard way. At a certain point, you simply put the point protectors on, put the knitting down, and back away slowly, because it's just not going to go well. And I do that. And when I am feeling better and I have better light, ta-da! Well, that's the on switch. You didn't see that. It didn't happen. When you have better light and you can see what you are doing, you can then attempt to correct the problem and return to making actual progress with your knitting. It's been going slowly. It continues to go slowly, but I'm making forward progress, and sometimes that's all you can claim. I'm not going backwards anymore. So I continue to knit. I'm very glad that I have point protectors made from a piece of the barber cord rubber tubing stuff that some people think you can use to slide your stitches on and try on cords, sometimes they're called. I got a whole roll of this stuff, cut it up into sections, cut the ends at a 45-degree angle, and I use them as point protectors for my 2.75 millimeter needles. And they work very well. The other thing that I have been working on is, oh my goodness, this thing. The embroidery pattern is from a company called Urban Threads. The pattern for the bag itself is from a woman whose company is called By Annie, BYANNIE.com. This is a variation on her Point of It All knitting needle case. The first thing that you will notice that is a variation is it's wider. I changed the width of these two panels to make it wider, and the first time I did it, I added too much. And I had it all the way assembled so it looked like this, but it was way too wide. I took out all of the seams that fastened the front and the back, or the back and the front, who cares, to the side panels, cut the side panels narrower, and then put everything back together. The reason I did that, and not just the zipper, is that there is a solid base, which has hook Velcro attached, and there's loop Velcro attached to the little pocket pages that you create, and you can customize your pocket pages to hold the tools that you want to have in your box bag of knitting tools. I also made pockets and labeled the pockets so that I know that these are US size 10 or 6.5 millimeter double pointed needles. The pocket pages will hold on one side pockets for my tips. The back will have a large pocket that will hold the cables, and then I have pockets to hold things like my stitch marker collection and tools of the trade. I don't know if you can see my tools of the trade and my stitch marker collection. And what I like about this, I changed the pockets to be horizontal with vinyl and a zipper closure, so my little tiny bits and bobs stay in their container, and I can reach to the bottom of the container, because if you divide it this way, it's very difficult to get your hand down into the bottom of this tiny narrow pocket to get the stitch marker out. But this pocket is divided this way because I don't have to reach the bottom to get these tools out. So, obviously, I like to sew as well. And I have a very fancy machine that does all kinds of tap dancing and adjusting, and it's a Bernina, it's a fancy Bernina. And I love it, and I use all the features. And my husband is overwhelmed because I have combined my two hobbies of sewing and knitting to create a bag to hold my knitting needles that is exactly the bag that I need for the sets of knitting needles that I own. I'm a fan of ChiaoGoo, and I actually have discovered that I prefer using the metric sizing to keep track of my needles rather than American sizing, because the metric sizing is much more precise and accurate, and it's easy to know what size is what. And that's kind of nice. I am not expecting to finish this at any time soon. I'm enjoying the process. It's getting there. It's getting there slowly. And I've never been a person who sought out projects that were fast and easy. I enjoy the process of knitting and just knitting itself. This has enough attention requiring where I have to count my stitches and make sure my increases and decreases are happening at the right point in the pattern repeat, but it also has a whole lot of do the row in the pattern that has already been established. Don't think about it, just slip the stitches and purl the stitches, or slip the stitches and knit the stitches, and you don't have to think sometimes. But sometimes you really do have to think. And that's actually my favorite kind of knitting. I'm going to keep knitting. I hope you keep knitting too.